Yo, what up? It's your boy back with you with another video. And today I got something a little different. I want to start doing reactions to audiobooks. I feel like that'll be very fun to do and very interesting. And I don't think no one else is doing that at the moment. So I want to do reaction videos to audiobooks. And I'm going to, right now I'm on my iPhone, but, hopefully I'm going to transition to my laptop. But for now, this is how I'm going to do it. I am at one of my mini jobs. They call me 100 Jobs Cobb. So I am here at work, so I can't be too loud, but it's a very slow day. It's not too busy, so I should be good. I'm going to do this with my book, Blackguard, Way of the Askari. It's my first full-length novel, 300 pages. I think it's like 70,000 to 80,000 words, something like that. And so I just thought it would be fun to just listen to the audiobook by the performer and go through it with you guys and give you my thoughts on it as far as the story, the plot, the characters, what I could improve, and how I feel about the voice acting. Let's hit it.
Beginnings. The war was over. The great Meta was dead. The air was heavy with the scent of blood. Yamansa's heart ached as he surveyed the temple floor. Bodies of his fallen warriors were strewn about, and the statues of gods, once held in reverence, were now in ruins. He stared up into the night sky through a gaping hole in the roof. No longer was he looking upon a sea of millions of white and blue shimmering stars. All he saw was a reminder of those he had lost.
And so, first off, I want to say with this opening chapter, the voice artist does a really good job of bringing you into Yamansa's feelings. Yamansa is the man who founded the Askari. There's a lot of things kind of left uh, up for interpretation. But essentially, this is the end of a great battle between the monstrous forces and this person called the Great Meta. Um, I'll probably do a comic book later down the line of the origins of Meta and Yamansa and how everything went down the way it did. Um, but essentially, this is the aftermath of the battle, and Yamansa is laying on the floor and he's looking up at this hole that was blasted through the ceiling, and he's just like, "Dang, all this death around me." And mind you, Yamaska is a regular person. He's not a Blackguard. Now, for those of you who haven't read Blackguard, you gotta understand that Blackguard are the magicians. They are the people who can use the magic in the world, and the magic itself is called Boko. And so the Blackguards are the ones who are capable of using magic. In this prologue, it takes hundreds of years before the main story. It just sets up the uh, the world that we're going to be entering with the Askari and the Blackguards.
Se had protected him and guided him, but it was not enough to save his comrades.
Also, they are in the Temple of Se. The Temple of Se. Se is the main deity within the world, and if you get to the back of the book, you will see the Askari lexicon, and it kind of explains all the different deities that they worship. But Se is the main one. He created the earth and the heavens and the cosmos and all that other stuff. It goes into detail when you read the book, but yeah, she's basically like the main goddess, and they believe that Boko comes from the essence of her spirit. Her spirit lives throughout all things, and they call it the benign or the Boko benign. And when they use Boko, they are essentially using a part of her spirit.
His chest heaved as he struggled to breathe and coughed up droplets of blood. Sharp pain pulsed through his body, and he attempted to rise to his feet, but the ache in his chest kept him grounded. Yarai hobbled towards him, her right leg trembling beneath her every time she placed her foot down. A thin line of blood wound its way from a cut above her nose, but it did nothing to take away from the determination in her dark brown eyes. She kneeled beside him and extended a hand, motioning for him to keep silent. She placed her palms on his chest, a warmth spread from her fingertips, enveloping his entire body in a gentle embrace. A deep violet hue glowed from her hands and passed through his chest, flooding him with an intangible energy. Although he did not understand or control the power of Boko, he was in awe of the beauty and grace of her abilities.
So, with the Boko, there are correlating colors, right? And each color is related to the emotional spectrum, or like your being, the being spectrum. So, like if you are calm, collected person, you're gonna have blue Boko. If you're rash or passionate, no, not rash. If you're rash, kind of not hot-headed, someone for arrogant, you're gonna have yellow Boko. If you're really friendly and easygoing, kind of a little bit gullible, I would say, you're gonna have green Boko. If you are a deep person who's very introspective, then you're gonna have, and you have a lot of empathy, you're gonna have purple Boko, and so on and so forth. Each the color depends on who you are as a person, your emotions, and your feelings, and basically everything that makes you you. That's what the Boko is tied to. That's why there are different colors. And I try to write it in a way where I don't always have to explain that. You just kind of see the character's personality and the choices they make, and then you see the vocal color, and you can correlate that yourself as a reader. Um, I try not to treat my audience like they're stupid, but I happen to a lot of times I do repeat certain things over and over within the book, but that just comes with growing as an author.
"It's not much," she said, her words heavy with disappointment. "But it should be enough to get you by for the time being."
And right here, she tells Yamatsu, this is Mirai, she's one of the Blackguards that was on his side. She tells him that, oh, it's not much, but it should be enough to heal you. She's injured herself, and she's choosing to heal him. And the thing how Boku works is it's like a muscle. You have to train it for it to get stronger. But you can also overtrain and injure yourself. You can try and do too much, you can hurt yourself. So there are limitations to how much a blackguard can do. And if they do push themselves too hard, they will injure themselves. So that's the major drawback with using Boko. And a lot of the spells have like like recoil. That's the best way I can think of it. They have drawbacks. So you will see this as the book goes on.
He nodded. "Thank you." She offered him a hand and pulled him up. His chest was heavy with guilt. Everywhere he looked were the dead bodies of his men. Limbs and heads were severed, and guts sprawled on the ivory and gold floors. He looked up at the pillars adorned with scenes of the creation of the world and felt a deep sense of sorrow. The once majestic temple of Se had become a tomb for the damned. Yarai's hand on his shoulder brought him back to reality. "Do not blame yourself, Yamansa," she said, but Yamansa couldn't help but feel responsible for the carnage that surrounded him. Before he spoke, something rattled from across the temple. Yarai raised her hands. They shimmered with a violet hue. Yamansa's muscles tensed. His sword was gone when he went for it, lost during the fight. He found a spear on the ground. It belonged to one of his warriors. He flicked it up with his foot and caught it. Lycus spilled out from behind an ivory pillar. Blood covered his face and robes. He wobbled toward them like a freshly born calf, unsteady on its hooves. He clutched his left rib. His one good eye stared out at them, wide with relief, and Boko flickered from his hands in a faint blue light. "Lycus!" Yarai rushed.
Now you can see Nearai's Boko is purple and Lycus's Boko is blue. So she's more empathetic. She's a natural healer. She's naturally drawn to people. Whereas Lycus is more strategic thinker. He's more calm and collected in battle, but he's more of a thought-provoking type of person. So his Boko is blue. And you will see that in the next conversations we're going to have. But it's just another reason why I color coordinated so you can know who's using what spell at what time. If there's a blue energy ball flying in the air and it hits a character, you know that not this certain character did that because his Boko is blue. Just makes it easier, at least for me. I'm not on the level of Brandon Sanderson yet, but I'm trying to get there.
To his side and slid her arm under his left one, helping him stand. His body was tense and weak, and the blue light emanating from his hands slowly faded away. "My Boko is nearly done," he said. Yarai maneuvered him to where Yamansa stood. She gently propped him against a pillar and placed one hand on his ribs. Warm purple energy surged through her fingers and into Lycus, filling him with enough strength to stand on his own. Good thing mine isn't. I owe you one. Yamansa felt the weight of the spear he held as he looked around the Temple of Seth. He had defeated
Quick pause. I didn't like that. I owe you one. I really didn't like that. I feel like there should have been a little bit of pause so that way you can understand which character is speaking. I mean, you kind of understand, but I just wish he would have paused right there. And you'll see that throughout the book. He has certain instances where two characters are talking and he'll kind of speed through the dialogue. And I don't really like that. I mean, it doesn't take away from the enjoyment and the performance too much, but when it's noticeable, it's noticeable. And it's like, oh, that didn't, it's jarring. It doesn't hit you kind of right. And it kind of takes you out of the immersion for a second.
the great Meta, but at what cost? His men who stood by his side were all gone. The only ones remaining were himself and the two Blackguards who had been brave enough to join him in his mission. Although the great Meta was a Blackguard far beyond their level of skill, together they triumphed. But at what cost? He said aloud. What? Nirai asked, her eyes wide with shock. My men, my Askari, he groaned, tears streaming down his face. Their bodies lie still on the pavement, all of
As the chapter's been going on, you've been seeing everything from your master's point of view. And now he's getting to the point where he's really starting to feel the deaths of his men. Because besides the two Blackguards, everyone else there was a human. And they all went to go take down this thing called the Great Meta. And you come to understand the reasons why as you read the book. There are hints and clues about what happened that lead up to this moment. But for him, this is a very traumatic thing to be going through.
them dead. Rage surged through him, boiling in the depths of his being like hot lava. Fury coursed through every vein like electric currents, directed towards himself for allowing his men to die. Fury towards the Blackguards that had enabled a tyrant like Meta to gain such power. And above all, boiling hate directed towards Boko. He swore within himself.
At first, he was admiring Boku, but now seeing all this death caused by Blackguards, he's like starting to get hateful towards the Boku.
That he would not let his anger be in vain. The deaths of his men would not be forgotten. We shall honor their deaths, Lycos said in a solemn voice. I will create a memorial hall in which their names will be inscribed on pillars. We will perform the proper rituals so their spirits may be released to Seth. I promise you, friend, they will be remembered. Nirai's voice, heavy with sadness, spoke into the still night air. It won't be enough. You and me, those like us, the Blackguards of this world, have caused too much pain and suffering to go unpunished. We must atone for our sins.
So to give you some backstory, 'cause a lot of you are going to come in this and be like, what is going on? I mean, you really don't need it, but it's just me talking. Basically, when the Blackguards first started to discover themselves, they didn't know what was going on. There was no spell works, no spell books for them to learn. It was just, oh, I have these powers. So when they did start developing spells and started figuring out how to do stuff, they would challenge each other to fights and duels, and it caused widespread ruin throughout all the kingdoms because all these different Blackguards were always fighting each other. And then Yamansa was a victim of one of these fights because he lost his family, collateral damage. And so he builds a human-based army to take out and fight these Blackguards. He builds a whole fighting style around taking down these Blackguards, these Boko users. And then that's how the original Askari was formed. But when it came to down to the last three, it was Meta, Nearai, and Lycus. And Nearai and Lycus understood that without checks and balances, Black arts would be rampant and there would be more destruction. So they joined the Masa. And when they tried to approach Meta, Meta being so powerful, he refused to join, the forces and stop this war. He refused. He thought he was a god. So when they tracked him down to the Temple of Faith, a battle ensued between their forces and him. And him being so powerful, he wiped out all of Yamasa's forces, only leaving Yamasa and the two Blackguards. And Yamasa was the one to give the killing blow to Meta. So I think I will make a comic book of this story later down the line, but that's just to give you a little backstory of this moment right here in within the world of the Askari and the Blackguards.
Lycus slowly nodded, his eyes fixated on Yamansa, who stood leering at his spear. "What would you have us do, Yamansa?" Lycus asked. Yamansa turned his back on the two blackguards, his emotions conflicted as he took in the carnage, the number of lives lost, and his disdain of Boko. He felt sorrow for his fallen warriors and anger towards the blackguards that stood with him. He struck the spear into the ground with an explosive force, cracking the pavement beneath. His chest heaving, ripped off his black top, smearing the fabric with the blood of his fallen men. With fire in his eyes, he drew a circle with an X in the center, then drew a line down through the center. He then tied the fabric to the end of the spear as an omen for all who remained.
This image becomes the Askari symbol. It's the image that you see on the covers and the image that's always referenced throughout the book. A circle with an X in the middle and then a line going down through the X. It represents Yamansa, the two Blackguards that survived, and the circle represents the dead Askari. So what he does is, if you didn't hear it, is that he takes the blood, wipes his hand in it, and then he wipes it on this fabric that he found. Then he wipes another X with the same blood, and he wipes a line down the middle. He ties it to a spear and jams it into the ground. And from that moment on, that becomes the Askari symbol. So it becomes two spears facing downward, and the third spear, no, two spears crossed like an X, and then the third spear going down in the middle. Those two spears represent the Blackguards, and the third spear represents Shamansa, and then the circle of blood represents the lives that were lost to get to this point.
Yamansa's voice shook with rage as he vowed, "On the spilled blood of these brave men, I swear to never let another evil of this scale invade our lands. I swear upon the blood of the dead here at the temple of Se that together with your unwavering loyalty we shall birth a new Askari." His words echoed ominously through the night as he declared his promise to restore order and justice. Yarai stepped to the left, her hands shaking as she grabbed the spear and a purple light flaring onto the shaft. Lycus moved to the right and grasped the spear, his hand wreathed in faint blue light, which curled onto the spear like smoke. "We are Askari," they said.
There you have it, man. That is the first, the prologue to Blackguard, Way of the Askari. It is the opening. It essentially just sets up the mechanics of the world and the Askari and how they work. So when other conflicts come within the world of the book, you understand that it all ties back to this moment specifically. Um, I enjoy listening to this with you all and talking about it. Any chance I get to talk about my book, I really relish it because I don't often get to talk about it among other people, among other geeks and readers and fans of fantasy and sci-fi and all that good stuff. And this book, is based off a lot of different things. Legend of the Gaia from PS1, Final Fantasy, Legend of Dragoon, Dragon Ball, Naruto, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, like all that stuff inspired this book. And I just hope that you all enjoy read it. Keep, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be doing the next chapter soon. And until next time, peace.